Hello once again. Welcome to Steve Vision. I'm Stephen Christopher Shepard. On today's show, I'm going to be talking about the story of Pac Man. Pac Man was a game that came out of Japan originally. It was called Pac Man. And the creators of Atari and Namco Games, they took Pac Man and turned it into Pac Man around 1980. Right around the time I was 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. I was getting good. I had been a child celebrity at the Cocoa Village Playhouse, where I had met a lot of people as a boy. And I performed The Sound of Music as one of the Von Trapp children, and I did an excellent Oliver Twist, and I even performed with The King and I, and did a Prince Tootle Longhorn, and everybody loved my performances. I was a huge celebrity. They used to tour me around Brevard County, Florida, and I'd sing to schools. I used to sing John Denver songs. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. And that song goes on, and it's a real pretty song if a boy could do it. And people loved it. Oh my! And my chorus teacher, she put together a company, and we traveled around singing to schools, and all the schools loved it. And so they got into performing me at the Merritt Square Mall, and I entertained people at the mall. And after the shows, sometimes Mr. Boughton and my mother and some of the others would get together at a local lounge in Cocoa Beach, and they had some nice ones. And everybody had Pac Man. If they didn't have Pac Man, they had Star Wars. And kids my age loved Pac Man. I mean, Pac Man made them laugh, because we all knew gay boys, when we were younger. And so Pac Man was a really fun game, too. And so in my neighborhood, there was a Jiffy food store on the corner. And my little sister and I would hustle for bottles in the neighborhood. And Deanna was so cute when she was a child that people gave her all their bottles. And we had plenty of money. I cut grass and did things for people. And I made my own money to go to McDonald's and to the skate park and play Pac Man. I didn't ask for money from my parents very often. But my father, now he worked constantly. He's a workaholic. And he had quarters on his dresser a lot of the time. And I remember taking those quarters off his dresser, to go play Pac Man. But the thing about Pac Man, the way it's designed and everything, is that it was psychological. I had broke my legs when I was 3 years old, and I saw that $6 Million Man show, and for some reason in my mind, it was like they were telling stories about me. And it gets personal. Pac Man's personal, because it's like I thought I was Pac Man. And because of my experience in Virginia, I grew up around Washington, D.C., and they were all gay. I mean, if there was a satellite watching me as a little boy, it would be laughing at me, because there was a lot of boys that offered it to me. I don't think I got Pat, but I might have been. Everybody was packing when we were boys in Virginia. Everybody, all of them. Not a nary of them that didn't like it. They would meet in the forest, and build these forts underground with stolen plywood pieces. And these boys that I remember, they meet in that fort, and one of them would get down in the hole and offer his butt up to his buddies, and one of them would take it. And I remember the offerings. So, a lot of boys offer me the butt because they like me, and I remember that in my mind, that I was offered some butthole as a child. And this one boy offered it to me, and it sticks into my head because there was a little turd on his butt. I was like, I can't get hard anyway, and now there's a turd on your butt, so leave me alone. Do not offer your ass to me again. All my buddies, they would laugh, and we go on to do something else. I mean, just leave it alone. And so I thought, over the years that Washington, D.C. knew me, and I was Pac Man the whole time. And my buddies, they could laugh, boy. Kenneth Mitchell, Mike Finn, Wally Smith, we all played Pac Man. And it was serious, too, boy. I mean, Pac Man, they had these icons down at the bottom. And boys that could reach up to that golden feather and birthday cake, I mean, for some reason, those icons are powerful. And as I got older, I kept thinking, what the hell could a Pac Man have been, And it must have been some kind of Japanese program to stimulate the asshole or something in a boy. Because every time I hit an icon, your mind would just go into a freak off as a child. You would reach a higher and higher level of Pac Man. And them, them boys might have been stimulated somewhere in the ass. When they reach the higher level of Pac Man, oh, oh, right. That's how good Pac Man was. Good. Oh, God. I could sit and watch Pac Man for a while. But back in those days, video games were just coming out. Atari, Star Wars, and Pitfall was a big one. Pitfall was good. If you ever played Pitfall. And these games were very rudimental in the beginning because nobody ever seen a video game. There was no Ataris. I saw the first Atari games. And Pac Man and Star Wars, every kid I knew was addicted to Pac Man, especially. And then they came out with Miss Pac Man, and that's what destroyed it. Oh, no. No, Miss. Because how could you have a Miss Pac Man? That's what boys are thinking. Because it's Pac Man, dog. Some of us were self-conscious because we were the Pac Man, And this is how the story goes with boys. They said Miss Pac Man. And now there's a Miss as Pac Man. It's not logical. And so those people that were designing the games, that's where they messed up bad. Because Pac Man ruled, bottom line. Because it was stereotypical type of game that was fooling with the mind of boys that knew about the homosexuals that we grew up with. A lot of boys are like that. They play with each other's dicks and everything when they're little. I remember the fags I grew up with, and I loved them. I grew up with Jewish boys that loved me. They showed me off to the synagogue. I remember going to the synagogue and telling them boys my story because I had won a great audience at one time. And so Jaws comes along, and we have been watching Lawrence Welk. Boys love Lawrence Welk. Happy Days, and everybody loved Laverne and Shirley. Shirley, back in those days. She looked like one of them nuns that we used to sit in class with a hard on for. Shirley. Laverne was alright, but Shirley, now, a lot of boys like Shirley. And that was funnier than hell, because Laverne was so dominant. And I got to meet Gary Marshall, and he was a prick. So I could tell Laverne was, she wasn't that good, but she's kind of funny, a little mean, Some boy didn't like that because they saw mean teachers in them. And so a lot of boys are talking about how they beat off to Shirley. Boy, if somebody heard that in an elementary school, and they couldn't control it, to hear that, a boy said, yeah, I beat off to Shirley. Boys were doing it. And they were getting busted. Subconsciously getting busted of it, Because we peed the bed. We masturbated ourselves to Barbie, if you had a sister to have. Barbie, Boys loved the tits on Barbie. Her feet weren't very good, but her tits get you off. And so we grew up during these days when, my father, he was working hard, and he took me skiing a lot because he worked on people's boats, and they'd let him take their boat out and, see if it was working good. And so he'd just take me skiing on the Indian or Banana River down by Mathers Bridge. And back in those days, everything was still pretty for some reason. The pollution wasn't that bad. Things didn't start changing with the game till about 1988. And then I was done with college. I had enough of college because I went into school for programming. And I took basic programming my freshman year, and I mastered it. I wrote a program for my roommate Tommy and myself that year, and Tommy paid me good for it. But basic programming wasn't that hard for me. I went into computer school because I wanted to learn about computers. I loved video games when I was a kid. But like I said, when they came out with Miss Pac Man, that confused the system, because there ain't no Miss Pac Man unless she's, got a dildo on and working it like that, and that's not real technical. Pac Man was fun because there was a lot of self-conscious games. And so we all, after 1988, where the Beastie Boys and Run DMC had divided the industry. The Beastie Boys ruled. Run DMC probably didn't sell that many albums because nobody wanted it. It was all about the Beastie Boys. That's just how it was. and Run DMC and all them gangster rappers start coming in on, and that really destroyed the video game market. Because now there's all kinds of demons in it. I mean, the demons will pack you before you even get out of the gate now. So Pac Man, the idea of Pac Man, and the way it was Pac Man, the boys that had been packed, or they were the packer, at that age, when you're 12 years old, you still remember being offered some butt. Like I'm telling you, I remember boys offering it to me. They loved me. Jews loved me. Everybody loved me when I was a boy. Bottom line. I mean, they were gay for me. And I moved to Florida to get away from it. I was delighted to meet Kenneth Mitchell, Mike Finn. They were surfers, and they didn't like talking about no, homosexuality. We all skinny dipped at Kenneth's place, but that's as far as we went. But they weren't gay. They weren't packing, but they remembered to pack. And I think that is why Pac Man rules some of them boys. Because we peed the bed, we masturbated to Shirley and Ginger on Gilligan's Island. There was a few other ones, like Marie Osmond. She gets you dies hard if you worked it a little bit. Thought about the way her butt bubble. And then Dottie, maybe he got it on. It worked it a little bit. Boys always getting off on something. I mean, son, if you remember being a boy, I love to come. What? I had a permanent hard-on my entire career in high school. I mean, my dick was hard all the time. People they didn't know it. They didn't. I walked around with a hard-on in high school all the time, and I had my butt over it, because the head might have been poking out the top of my blue jeans. And that's my story for today on Pac Man. Thank you, Pac Man. Thank you, Japan. God bless everybody. Have a nice day.